ladies and gentlemen, this is Hollywood Matt Connelly with the double biceps. It is in the contract, a legal requirement every single time we appear on camera. Welcome to the AWE podcast. The co-host, co-founder, co-breather of air, co-pilot, the man sitting across from me at the moment, the co-breather of air, did I say that one? The biceps. It is the Count of Monte Cristo, the King of Sting. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, I'm throwing you off here. This is the Count of Monte Cristo, the Master of Disaster, the King of Sting, Thunderlips, the ultimate male, and it is, in fact, the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year Award. There it is there, the illustrious trophy held by the illustrious man, and he's put his nomination in already for that trophy for this year. I think he's the front runner. It is Dave Stockbridge.
True. I feel like 2023 really is my year, Hollywood Matt Connelly.
Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure to be here and to be table side with you. So Hollywood, lots of news in the world of arm wrestling this week, as always. So East versus West, that was going on there in Istanbul, and so we'll get your thoughts and insights with respect to EVW very, very soon. And in the world of AWE, anything to update us?
Yeah, I mean, we're very excited about the upcoming events. So we've got AWE 2, which will be held at the Adelaide Oval in the McGarry Room, which is a spectacular venue and amazing to get part of that. And thank you again to, well, not only yourself, but to Craig Ike and the Diamondback Fighting Championship crew for helping us with, or allowing us to be part of their production for their upcoming fight as well, which will take place after AWE 2. So this is what's exciting for me. If somebody is a fight fan or a sports fan in general, if they're going to be attending an arm wrestling event like AWE 2, they not only get the arm wrestling, they can, after the arm wrestling, they get the arm wrestling after pulling, but there is an entire MMA card in the same room.
So, Hollywood, I think it's quite timely now that you've raised this, the value on offer. So, AWE 2 will be held in conjunction with DFC, I think 17, 18 maybe.
Yes, one of them.
Let's go with 17.
Sure.
You like that one?
I don't know. Which one of them?
Let's go with 25. Let's ratchet it up. And so if you buy tickets to AWE 2, not only will you see some of the best matchups ever to occur on the continent, you will also be able to hang back and take in Diamondback Fighting Championships MMA show, which extends right onto the evening. So this is an all-day event for anybody who wants to partake. Now, for arm wrestling fans, you might go, oh, why do I want to hang around and watch MMA? Well, you might not want to, but you just might want to afterpull with Todd Hutchings, Marcus Satirai. You might want to jump on with Mataringi Hedda Morris, for instance, and just see what it's like to grip up with somebody who's 165 kilos. Just see what the strongest man in New Zealand's like. You might want to feel what 85 kilos of side pressure is like. You might want to grab hold of Ryan Bowen and see if you can move him. You might want to beat Hollywood Matt Connelly.
You probably will.
So, amateurs welcome, obviously. So, this is the great thing. The great thing with this event, you're going to pay less than $40 for your ticket. You can hang around all night by the bar with all the big names, all the AWE superstars, and hang out with us all night, overlooking the playing surface of the iconic Adelaide Oval.
What a day.
How do you like that?
That's incredible.
It's kind of amazing.
For the price of a T-shirt.
For the price of a T-shirt. And for the extra cost of a T-shirt, you can get a T-shirt.
That's right.
So an AWE T-shirt. So which you can get if you head over to our AWE store. So you can type in AWE store and you'll find you can get the shirt, you can get the beanie and the cap, the trucker's cap.
The hoodie as well.
And the hoodie.
Yes.
The hoodie, the Devon Larratt inspired hoodie.
Right.
So you've got that, although not in green. I think Devon's lawyers would have been on the phone if we'd gone in that direction. But so big event and great value for anybody that wants to be there in person. Now there's ringside tickets or cage side tickets because this will be held inside an ISCA certified cage, and ISCA certifies some of the biggest combat sports events anywhere in the world. So their officials officiate over UFC events, for instance. So and some of the biggest promotions that you're going to see anywhere else. And they have certified the cage and said that it's barely strong enough for Matawaringi Head Morris. Barely strong enough. We can't have Matawaringi and Marcus Itirai in the cage at the same time. That's not allowed.
You won't see the table.
But they haven't certified that. But so we've got a great venue, a world-class venue. We've got some of the best athletes that you're ever likely to see. If you're in Australia, you're not going to see a bigger or better card, or you would never have seen a bigger, better card. And on top of that, if you want to hang around, you can watch the MMA in the background, have an after pool with all of your favourite arm wrestlers, and enjoy the night into the wee hours.
That sounds like a tremendous day and a tremendous offer. Well, if anyone is interested in AWE2, it will be at July the 2nd here in Australia, and for time differences purposes, it'll be July 1st, Saturday night in the US. But yes, it will
Kicking off at 2 p.m, finishing up about 5:30.
Yes.
And then heading straight over to Afterpool.
Yeah.
Which is in the same room and right next to the bar, as it turns out.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Perfect.
We didn't plan that at all.
Not at all.
But how enormous is the beast and Marcus Itirai? 165 kilos, 162 kilos. I'm 100 kilos, and I feel like I'm quite a reasonably sized person.
You've got a degree of physicality, one would say.
That's right.
Yeah.
165 is another person attached to me. It's just incredible guys, and to have that.
It's you plus Penny Godfrey.
It is. It literally is. It's insane. And to have that caliber of athlete competing at the AWE is a tremendous delight for us and privilege to have these amazing athletes come and compete on the AWE table.
Yes, well, Matawaringi Head Morris has some work to do, and obviously will be coming back from his most recent bout and looking to assert himself once again as the AWE Intercontinental Champion. Of course, he was able to walk away with that belt across his shoulder after taking out Ryan Bowen in AWE 1. Now, there's a lot of people that thought that was going to be a lot closer than what it was. Ryan Bowen's one of them. Matt Connelly thought so as well.
I thought Ryan was the favourite for sure.
Yeah, and Matawaringi really found another level, and maybe it was the big occasion of the big venue, but you seem to, champions really perform under pressure, and with very short notice, Matawaringi was able to walk away with the victory, and with very little by way of preparation. But what a lot of people mightn't know that that wasn't our original main event. That was not meant to be our intercontinental title fight, and it was meant to be Toddzilla. It was meant to be Todd Hutchings.
Meant to be Chance Shaw originally.
It was meant to be Chance Shaw, but we've forgotten about that. And there was even one in between, which I'm sure one day we'll be able to discuss more fully. But right now
it's Toddzilla.
Let's say Toddzilla. So Toddzilla was meant to be on the card, and last minute snowmobile incident. We can't confirm that a snowmobile was involved in the snowmobile incident, but I was going to say our minds, Matt wants nothing to do with it, but in my mind, there was a snowmobile.
I've got a great mental image of him riding his snowmobile to his letterbox since you brought that up.
Yeah. We did hear actually it was an activity vehicle.
An ATV, yeah, all-terrain vehicle.
All-terrain vehicle. So it's an all-terrain vehicle.
Snowmobile.
Mom and snowmobile. And but anyway, we don't know the details, and we will have Todd on the podcast at some point in time to explain the incident away, so to put all our minds at rest. But he's been at home resting, recovering, and building up, and we got the message through only a matter of a couple of weeks ago saying I'm ready.
Yeah.
And we're particularly blessed that Todd had decided to make his debut after his injury with AWE2 and make his way over the pond one more time and make some arm wrestling magic happen. And, of course, he's pitting himself against the Beast, all 165 kilos of him, although he'll probably be 170 by the time he turns up. It's getting bigger all the time.
Yeah.
And so Will, 165, 170 kilo Matawaringi, be enough to take on 85 kilos of side pressure.
It's insane, isn't it? To think. I mean, Tonzilla's got such a unique style, and as you mentioned, it is just, I don't care what happens to my hand, I'm going sideways regardless.
Yep.
Good luck stopping me. And he's just so incredibly strong in that movement, and it's almost so unique that it'd be very difficult to find training partners to replicate that, because it's like, if somebody else wants to train and just do side pressure, and then they're going to hurt themselves.
Yeah,
it's an incredibly risky technique that you need. I mean, he's had probably 40 years of conditioning to be able to get to the point where he's at the moment, where he can just do that and drive sideways and his bones remain intact. But for anyone else, it's almost like going up to the side of a house and trying to push it over.
Yeah. Well, with Mataringi, literally.
Yeah.
That's exciting in itself. So that is our main event. That is for the Intercontinental, the AWE Intercontinental belt. We also have the heavyweight belt on the line. Marcus Tirai versus Gunter's Baikovs.
Yeah.
And Gunter's looked so good in AWE 1, really asserted himself as Australia's number one. And yes, we've claimed him as our own now, Latvia. Sorry. But
you keep saying former Latvian. So.
He is former Latvian. He's no longer Latvian. He's ours. But AWE champion. And, of course, Marcus called him out at AWE 1 and said, look, I want a piece of that action. And Gunter's has been kind enough to oblige him. So we're going to see 162 kilo Marcus Tirai across the table from the former Latvian, the former European, the former Australian, and now AWE heavyweight champion, Gunter's
Baikovs. And that was such a treat to see Gunter's compete in person. It was. As I said, the first time I've ever seen him compete. I've been in the sport for 4 years, and he had retired before I had started. And so he was popping in every now and then, maybe once every 6 months, once a year, and you'd be like, it'd just crush everybody. But it was like, the legend of Gunter's, and he was such a nice guy. And
you did share with me a story of when he invited some of the club members up to his home in the Barossa for a little bit of training. And all of a sudden, everybody was quite excited to test themselves against the great man, see how they progressed. And how did that go?
He destroyed everybody. And then he was doing fingertip push-ups at 125 kilos.
Just for reps. Oh, well, I think the promo video for AWE 1, it was just repping out. Doing. I think you see like 6 or 7 of them in the video, but I'm sure there's another dozen or so on top of that, all just done with ease with a smile on his face. The great man, Gunter's Baikovs, great to see him back and great to see him at the competitive table once again, and really privileged to have him on the AWE card and have him as a member of the crew, because to have an athlete of that caliber as your heavyweight champion does tell the world that the promotion overall is a world-class promotion, and really looking forward to seeing how Marcus goes. Marcus shows an enormous amount of promise. He certainly catapulted himself into the consciousness of the arm wrestling world after AWE 1, and certainly earned the respect and attention of the great Devon Larratt, and who's made mention of him on several occasions, and of course spoken really highly of by Ryan Bowen here in Australia. And so Marcus continues to improve, and it would be great to see how the young Tahitian goes against the great Latvian. So, so Oceania versus Europe for the AWE Heavyweight Championship. And which way do you see that going, Hollywood?
Well, this has been an interesting match from a technical aspect. Marcus he's ticked the strength box, he's filled it in even. The strength is there without a doubt. The technique is the only thing I think that Gunter's would really have such an advantage on, and that is with his setup, with his ability to be strong everywhere. I can see that Gunter's from a technical aspect would have an advantage.
Just more tools in the toolkit.
Exactly, yeah. And wherever the match sort of goes, I feel that Gunter's would feel very comfortable, very seasoned veteran, and it'd be interesting to see what Marcus can bring to the table in terms of whether his power, whether his strength can get him into a position where he can then, really start aiming to roll towards the pad, or if Gunter's is set up and his ability to keep opponents out of their power is good enough to stop Marcus from accessing that. So it should be a very interesting match. I'd say for me the favourite would be Gunther's by a little bit, only based on his technical ability. So. Yeah, but this is what's fun about this is you could almost say I don't really know.
Yeah,
that's what you want that going into a big match is I don't know who's going to win, and that's what makes it exciting. Because if it's just a whitewash, it's like he's going to win it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard to know the answers, and that's what's so exciting about this event, AWE2. It's we continue to answer the questions that arm wrestling fans have been waiting for, and so AWE2 is going to be a spectacular event, and we will have ticket details if you do want to be there in person available very, very soon. Stay tight, sit tight for that announcement, and for those people that do want to watch the event online who aren't able to make their way to Australia, we understand there's a lot of fans, AWE fans all around the world. Well, you're going to be able to tune in to the athlete of your choice. As long as that athlete's got more than 10,000 subscribers, they will be live streaming the event. So if Todd Hutchings is your favourite and you want to see how Toddzilla goes, well, tune into his channel and you'll be able to see the event live. So should be a great event and really looking forward to it. But that's not all that's going on in the arm wrestling world. Of course, East versus West just happened this weekend, and did it go as you expected?
Well, I don't think anyone was expecting Devon to lose a match. He's been so dominant up until Levan. But, it was a lot of controversy, a lot of refereeing controversy. It was an interesting match. Seeing Devon actually start to get tired was a first. It was This is one of those things, and we keep coming back to this, is the rule set that they're playing with there with these elbow fouls, and what AWE has put in place because of being unhappy with these sort of calls that are going on.
Yeah, as fans, we don't like them. And it's very, very frustrating for the audience, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Two guys have started a match. They're deep into a match. They're going back and forth. The story of that round is being told, and somebody might be headed towards victory, and then stop. Somebody's elbow came up a millimeter for half a second, and it's like, are you serious that you stopped the round?
So explain to people why that wouldn't happen in AWE.
Well, we don't call those as fouls. So the only elbow fouls that you'll get called is if you get an advantage from it. So yeah, if you obviously like hop up in the air and push yourself forwards, then it
might be
foul.
called. Yeah,
absolutely. But if it's something that is so microscopic and doesn't affect the outcome of the match whatsoever, keep it going. Keep it running. Don't stop that match because it's not going to change the outcome. So don't and for matches to end on fouls, it's infuriating.
It's such an anti-climax, isn't it?
Yes,
so that's our commitment to you. That will never happen in an AWE event. All right. So you're not going to have decisions by fouls. You're going to see who's the best arm wrestler.
That's right. Yeah. Start a match and just let him go.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. This is half the reason why that we did that tournament last year, the Titans Open, with all straps. Like everything started in a strap, because I hate when people just slip deliberately. It's like, if you're going up there and you know you're just going to slip, why don't you just start in the strap?
Yeah.
And the opponent doesn't want to. Okay, so we get a round of setting you guys up for a minute, and then one of you just goes, throws your hand away.
Yeah, look, I can understand the sportsmanship to some degree. You know, it might be a strategy to wear out your opponent in the setup because you feel you've got endurance on your side, and it might be a bigger opponent who's maybe more muscular, is going to tire that that little bit more quickly. The lactic acid's going to build. Maybe that's your strategy, but it's not fun to watch.
Oh, God, no.
It is not fun to watch. But, in AWE, of course, once everybody's comfortable, away they go.
That's right.
That's if you don't like your setup, okay, well, if the ref's happy and your opponent's happy, away you go. And if you're both happy, and it might not be technically the most correct start. The reality is that if you're both happy, away you go, and you might want to start in a hook, for instance. We even had that at AWE one with Lachlan Carpenter from memory.
It was Stephen Carroll and Christian Bowes.
Oh, Christian Bowes, that's right. Yeah, I think they're third or fourth round. Yeah. And so it started in, and they agreed. They were happy with that, and they felt like at that stage, I think Christian had well and truly walked away with a win. And so, but it was a good bit of fun, and gave Stephen a chance to see how would he go if he could get that position that he's most comfortable in as well. So it was nice, but and a good bit of sportsmanship on behalf of both athletes on that occasion. But if you're comfortable, you're ready to go, away you go.
That's the thing. That's the thing. When I'm refereeing our super matches that we have each week at the club, and I'll say to the guys, like, take your grip, and then you happy with that? Yes. Are you happy with that? Yes. Okay. Wait for me to call it, and I'll say go. Because you've said you're happy with it. You said you're happy with it. I'm happy with it. You guys are happy. Let's go. Like, and, maybe you're in a terrible position. But you're happy to start there. Okay.
So if Connelly versus Devon was to occur in AWE rules, how do you think the result would have been?
Well, that first round would have been different. If they were in that same position, that foul wouldn't have been called. I couldn't even actually see the foul, even on watching it on super slow mo.
Science is still trying to discover the foul, but the ref was there.
In the lab. The data's not
correlating.
Yeah, but God, I can't believe they stopped that round in that position. And
so that would have certainly gone. So you feel like Devon would have been more fairly treated under the AWE rule set?
I think both athletes would be. Well, that's the thing is if you're in the middle of a round like they were, and Devon was in that position, and he was taunting Gennady and saying he was in control, complete control, and he knew it, and he was going to sit there and tire Gennady out, which is what he does. And he was sort of, he probably could have rolled through and pinned at any point that he wanted to at that moment. But he sat and he was waiting, and then obviously Gennady's trying to fight out of it, which Devon's controlling, and then they've called a foul on Devon, which has restarted the round, and now Devon has to work all the way back there again and so potentially it could have changed the outcome of the match, but it's one of those things. I mean,
so Devon would have won under AWE rules, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not saying that.
That's
for
what I'm
sure.
trying to put in those words. I'm trying to put in your mouth.
It would have been a different match.
It would have been a different match. Yeah. That's a very diplomatic way of putting it.
Yeah.
Well, and probably the right way to put it too, Matthew. It would have been a different style of match, and you wouldn't have seen that. Maybe you would have seen Devon in that dominant position, gassing out Connelly for just long enough in order for to change the complexion of the rest of the matchup.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's one of those elements that really can affect not only the audience's perspective, like watching something and being really into it. Like for myself, even like watching that moment, and it's like, and then it's it's such a disappointment. To restart.
And is that because they're running strictly WAF ruls? Is that what's going on there?
So, yeah. But we also had that with Hermes Gasparini and Levan, and I was so frustrated with that match because for anyone who hasn't seen that, I guess if you're an arm wrestling fan, you probably would have, but obviously Levan was able to get his top roll position, and he was rolling. He would get 3/4 of the way through to the pad. And Hermes' wrist was completely flopped back. He'd lost his hand completely, but he was able to hold on in that position, and then he was able to defend long enough and then to start trying to bring it back. And as soon as he would start bringing it back, Levan would lift his elbow and get an elbow foul restart. And it's like, this is not how this is supposed to go.
And it's real professional fouls in that in that case, isn't it? And so using fouls for your own benefit, which I guess, that's what the rules are for. You play by the rules. Everybody's got the same rule set, but is that good sportsmanship? Is it good for the viewer? Is it good for the sponsors? Is it good for the public? Is it good for arm wrestling? I guess that's the thing, because I think some of the things that might be lost in some of the major promotions is that long term the growth of the sport depends on how many eyeballs are on it, and if you're going to be running micro fouls, watch the viewership drop away.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, if you're looking for arm wrestling to really take off and to become a mainstream sport, then point out to me another professional endeavor that where the referees exert so much influence over the result. And the outcome and the watchability of the sport. Mm-hmm. You don't see that in football. I mean, on occasions you see a few bad decisions made by an umpire or referee that might, change a moment or something like that. You might, but it's certainly not the rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. Whereas increasingly in these WAF-sanctioned events or where they abide by the rule set, that's what you're seeing. And in my firm opinion, I don't believe it's good for arm wrestling. Mm. Now, there might be an argument that I'm a purist and I want to see it. I want to see the sport played by the letter of the law, and that's great, and that might be you. But I reckon that's a niche, and I reckon you're an outlier in respect to wanting to see the sport play out that way. Mm-hmm. And for people in the Anglosphere, I guess you'd say, who would know the sport cricket. You've got the various forms of the game. And you've got the long form of the game, which is played over 5 days. I mean, what other sport is played over 5 days?
I think that's probably the only one, yeah.
So you've got 5 days. So you've really got to be interested if you're a fan to stay interested for 5 days. Yeah. And then you've got the one-day cricket, which is, of course, as the name would suggest, played over
6 days.
And then you've got 2020 cricket, which by far and away is the most watched form of the game because it's all done and dusted within 2 or 3 hours. There's everything that a fan of the sport wants to see. So you've got the fastest bowlers, you've got the biggest hitters, you've got all of the pageantry, all of the excitement of the sport, all wrapped up in a real easy to consume format that is now bringing people back to the sport that that a lot of people moved away from. Yeah, arm wrestling needs to be really conscious that arm wrestling is the sport of arm wrestling needs to be very conscious that what people cared about 10, 15, 20 years ago in terms of the rules does not translate in 2023 to bigger viewership and more sponsorship, and does not make the sport any more watchable.
Exactly. No, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, you look at something as silly as slap fighting, for an example of something that's just completely ridiculous, in my opinion. And that's been slapping the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award across the room. You were angry about that. You like slap fighting.
I just got angry when I heard slap.
Right. Slapped
very frustrating.
You all right though? Yeah,
he's good. Yep.
He's all good.
Awesome.
It's indestructible, that trophy.
Yes. It's made of 24 carat
plastic
gold.
Plastic coloured gold. Absolutely. But something as ridiculous as slap fighting and how stupid it is, it has a tremendous viewership because it's entertaining.
As stupid as slapping a trophy? I don't know. Stupid, but it's because you get to go on that journey and it's done and dusted.
Yes,
and so
it's right there. What's the thing? What does he do? He slaps him in the face. And if he can keep going, then he slaps him in the face. It's so easy to understand.
I've got it. Yeah. I'm in.
5 seconds, you understood.
Yeah.
And away you go. But, and it's having, to my frustration, enormous success. Yes. But, when you look at arm wrestling, it should be the same story. Well, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to pin his arm. He's trying to pin mine. That's it. So they say go, and then that's what happens. But then, when you go, and they go stop and restart. Well, what happened? What happened? No one got pinned. Oh, they've got to restart because his elbow slightly lifted up a little. Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to keep your elbow in the pad. Oh, okay, right. Next round, their hands come apart. Oh, what happened then? Oh, they've got to now be strapped together. It's like there's all these little.
Why didn't they start that way?
Yeah.
Well, because
back in 1743 when.
So what you got with WAF is you've just got a bunch of guys that got into a room at some point 30 years ago and said, this is the rules. And so you've got adherence to that, and you've got people that think that's gospel and don't want to deviate at all, and they're traditionalists, and that's fine. But I don't think that's where the growth of the sport will be ultimately. And I think if arm wrestling is going to be a sport that's fueled by people that aren't arm wrestling fans right now, so they're turning to the sport, and most people's, I guess, gateway to arm wrestling is going to be through YouTube, what they see on YouTube. A lot of crossover, between people that are consuming, say, Larry Wills is a great example. Larry Wills' content, because they're into bodybuilding, strength training, powerlifting, and then all of a sudden Larry Wills is arm wrestling. So it opens up that whole new gateway. And with Juji the same, so you've got these influences where there's huge crossover effect. Now, for the people that have come over as a result of seeing some of these people cross over from other disciplines and into arm wrestling, and then discover Devin Larratt, before you know it, Ryan Bowen, and then you're in the world, you're stuck in the world of arm wrestling. Those people are the ones that aren't going to be falling in love with WAF rules competition.
Oh yeah.
And why? Because they're not purists. And initially, they're just fans, and what do fans want? They want a show, and they want to see the best man win. And when there's any kind of when there's any intimation that maybe the best man isn't winning or didn't walk away with the victory, or that was somehow stopped, or that there was a third party involvement that hindered true justice taking place on the table, that's where you start to lose people.
Oh yeah.
And before you know it, people go, why would I be vested in this athlete who I thought would have otherwise won, who ends up losing because a ref has called a microfoul, or sometimes it's not even immediately evident what's going on. And of course, we saw the whole debacle on East versus West with Michael Todd protesting on several occasions, and you don't find that in other professional sports where an athlete feels they've got to go to those lengths in order to
the audience,
to the audience, appealing to anybody in the room, and I guess that's where, and in some part that's AWE's inspiration, seeing that moment and seeing Michael Todd's frustration in that moment. It's like, well, we can circumvent that. Really easy to do. Instant replay. An official who doesn't have a dog in the game, he's not caught up in the moment, who's external of the event, who can look in objectively, make a call based on the replay and from what they've seen cage side, and then say, yep, that's it. And then there's no further argument. It's been given due consideration. The ref gets some input, but ultimately it's left up to the match umpire who will adjudicate, and the call is made, and then you get two of those in your match, and if you use two of them and you lose two of them, too bad. If you get a win, for instance, you might protest a foul and you're right, for instance, well, you had two chances, you still get to keep those two chances. So, but if that's to stop the athletes from making frivolous charges, So essentially, what we've tried to be able to do is build into the adjudication process fairness, transparency, and the opportunity for the athlete to have some degree of input, but not to be in control of the match, and for the referees not to be in control of the match either. And from my observations, AWE won. That was probably done better in AWE one than what it's been done in East versus West and King of the Table so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was instant. I mean, as soon as they called for a replay, yep, no worries. And we said in the microphone, obviously the production crew can hear what the commentators are saying. They're calling for a replay, and the replay was right there. And it was me that was making the decision, but I was able to watch that footage back and make a judgment call within 15 seconds of having said, hey, we'd like to see the replay. And it was nice and slow-mo and everything was right there. It was even faster than the referees could get out the cage and come around to watch it as well. And by the time they got there, it was, which is a 5 meter walk.
Yeah.
It's already been, it's like, yeah, no, it was an elbow foul. Yeah, restart it,
Yeah.
Which is great. And for the athlete that's in that position, not only are they not being able to use that as a potential way to try to recover, you know, where it's like it takes 6 minutes or 7 minutes to get this replay or whatever. Oh, I'm feeling a bit gassed. Can we get a replay on that last? You know?
That's right.
And then, you know, whereas it's like as soon as that call was made, and we had Jamie Barrett who made a call. He thought that Hamza Hodji had LO fouled, which it turned out that he had. And yeah, he made the call, and I think within a minute they were back on for the next round. So yeah, it worked very, very well, and what a amazing ability to add those things. So what we're trying to do with the AWE is finding the elements that aren't working and try to fix them and make them better.
Indeed, and that's what the AWE is all about. So, well, not all of it. I mean, it's some of it, but you know, we want a fairer, better system. We want the athletes.
Matches, yeah.
We want the athletes to walk away feeling that they've had every chance of a victory. They've had latitude, flexibility, input, but ultimately happy to leave the decision in the hands of the experts, and then we can move on in a very sportsmanlike manner.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
And head to Afterpool and have
That's
fun.
right. And have a beer with Toddzilla while you're getting destroyed.
Indeed. So, again, final time, I guess, for this podcast, though, AWE 2, it's at the Adelaide Oval. You can get tickets now. Maybe not now.
Soon.
Maybe by the time you're listening to this, you can. But sometime in the next few days, we're going to have a link available for you so you can book your ticket now. Then...
Mm-hmm. When it's it would be up soon,
available.
Very soon.
It'll be available, so you can head over. You can get your tickets and be there in person and be part of the after pool, and of course enjoy Australia's premier mixed martial arts event as well. You can do all of that in the one location, or of course you can tune in via the pay-per-view. So thank you very much, Hollywood Matt Connelly.
Thank you to the viewers. We'll give you one last double bicep there.
That's right.
There we go. And we've got our most muscular from Mr. Stockbridge over there too. Fantastic. He's going to burst out that shirt, I think. All right.